Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, before we proceed with the sharing session on the financial management process, on behalf of the Finance Division, I would like to welcome all of you to the Iium Garden of Knowledge and Virtue. In this sharing session, we will cover the following agendas. Before we proceed with the presentation on the financial management, we want to highlight the rules number 14 of the Staff Disciplinary Rules 2015, which is related to the financial losses to the university. The rules number 14 stated that it shall be a disciplinary offence if a staff member who is in his employment caused financial losses to the university in the event he A. Did not or has failed to collect any monies owing to the university, the collection of which he is or was responsible. B. Is or was responsible for any improper payment of monies from the university or for payment of monies not duly approved. C. Is or was responsible directly or indirectly for any deficiency in or for any destruction of any money, stores, or other property of the university. D. Being or having been a staff member in charge of finance who did not or has failed to keep or monitor proper accounts or records of the university. And last one, did not or has failed to make any payment or is or was responsible for any delay in payment of monies from the university to any person or any party to whom the payment is due under any law or under any contract, agreement, or arrangement entered between that person or party and the university. All financial activities shall be executed in accordance with the Iium financial governance. The Iium financial governance is implemented based on the following rules and regulations. Number 1, Iium Constitution. Number 2, Iium Financial Policies and Procedures. Number 3, Iium Purchasing Policies and Procedures. Number 4, Iium Asset Policies. Number 5, Relevant Government Circulars. Number 6, Accounting Standards, Malaysian Financial Reporting Standard. Number 7, Requirements of Companies Act 2016. Number 8, Policies, Rules and Regulations imposed by the university. This is the structure of Iium authorities. Under the Finance Division, we have 10 main committee including 3 committee under Procurement. That is Investment Committee, Academy Business Committee, Budget Committee, Asset Management Committee, Food and Auxiliary Services Management Committee, SUSMAC Waiver Committee, SUSMAC Sub-Finance Committee, Tender Committee, Quotation Committee, and SUSMAC Quotation Committee. These committees will report its activities to the University Finance Committee. The highest authorities in the finance structure is Board of Governors. Board of Governors. The Board of Governors shall have the authority as below: to examine and approve the accounts of the university, to determine the financial year of the university, to accept on behalf of the university any grants, donation, endowment, gifts, property and monies in aid of the finances of the university, to examine and approve the university's recurrent and development budget, to approve the financial procedures of the university, to approve supplementary estimates inclusive of 10% excess of expenditure against approved estimates. University Finance Committee. Terms of reference of UFC are to regulate, control and manage the finances of the university, to prepare the university's budget for operating, development and research for approval of the BOG, to monitor the operating and development expenditure to ensure that they are within approved budget, to recommend the university's financial policies, rules and regulations for approval of the BOG, to prepare the university's annual financial statements for the BOG approval, and to approve opening of bank accounts. Members of UFC are Deputy Chairman of the Iium Board of Governors as the Chairman, Rector or his or her representative, one person from the Ministry of Finance to be appointed by the host member, and the Executive Director, Finance Division as the Secretary. Budget Committee. Terms of reference of Budget Committee are formulate policies and procedure for budget controls, plan budget strategy, decide priority of budget plans for various cost centers based on budget strategy, formulate policy on budget distribution, prepare the university annual budget and responsible for the implementation of the budget, approve on budget distribution and implementation controls. Members of the Budget Committee are Rector as the Chairman, Deputy Rector, Academy and Planning, Campus Director, Iium Kuantan Campus, Executive Director, Management Services Division, Executive Director, Development and Planning Division, Legal Advisor, two Deans as representatives of the Kuliahs, Chief Information Officer, Director OSIC, Director Iium Medical Center, Director Information Technology Division, and Executive Director Finance Division as a Secretary. Tender Committee. Terms of reference of Tender Committee are to consider the recommendations from the Tender Evaluation Committee, to accept the tender unanimously in line with the approved financial limit, to approve the appointment of consultants, and to recommend a retender exercise if the procurement procedure is not followed. The membership of the Tender Committee are Rector as the Chairman, Deputy Rector as the alternate Chairman, Deputy Rector, Representative from Ministry of Finance, Representative from Ministry of Education, and the Executive Director Finance Division as the Secretary. Quotation Committee. Terms of reference of Quotation Committee are to scrutiny the evaluation for procurement of goods and services and works made by the Technical and Financial Evaluation Committee, to approve the procurement of goods and services and works with financial implication of more than Rm200,000 to Rm500,000, to approve the procurement of goods and services and works on a direct negotiation or award basis with financial implication of more than Rm200,000 to Rm500,000. Membership of the Quotation Committee are Deputy Rector Responsible Research and Innovation as a Chairman, Executive Director Finance Division or his representative, Director of Development Division or his representative, Head of Procurement Unit Finance Division serve as the Secretary. Investment Committee. This committee is responsible in the overall management of the university investment. They are also responsible to ensure that all universities' funds are managed professionally, to monitor the investment performance, to appoint the fund managers to manage the university's funds, and to formulate investment policies and strategies. The membership of this committee are Rector as the Chairman, at least one member from the university with the necessary experience in specific area, at least one representative from professional bodies, the head of investment unit as the secretary. Asset Management Committee. The roles of the Asset Management Committee are to plan, monitor, supervise, and observe all aspects of asset management in Iium. Responsibilities of the Asset Management Committee are as follows. To ensure the current asset position in Iium is fairly stated. To review report on asset inspection. To review report on asset disposal. To review on report surcharge or discipline action report. and to discuss challenges relating asset management and the proposed solution. The Asset Management Committee must consist of not less than 6 individual members as follows. Rector as the chairman. In the absence of the chairman of Asset Management Committee, for whatever reason, any of members can be appointed as the alternate chairman. Director Development Division. Campus Director Quantum Campus. Dean Center for Foundation Studies. Director Office Occupational Safety, Health and Built Environment Department. Director Office of Internal Audit. Director Information Technology Division. Other appropriate officers. And Executive Director Finance Division as Secretary. Now, we take a look at the flow of financial activities. The financial activities begin with preparation of budget, followed by procurement activities, processing of payment, asset registration, cash collection management, and lastly, preparing the financial reporting for the Iium management and stakeholders. Next is the Finance Division functional chart. There are 11 units under the Finance Division. You can go through the function of each unit in these slides and in the next slide. Now, we will share with you the budget management. Each department of the university is required to prepare and submit an annual budget for approval. The budget process requires the review of the budget committee, after which the budget will be endorsed in the University Finance Committee for submission to the Board of Governors for approval. There are two types of budget. The first one is operating budget. An operating budget is a combination of non-expenses, expected future costs, and forecasted income over the course of a year. Operating budgets are completed in advance of the accounting period, which is why they require estimated expenses and revenues. Second is development budget. Development budget is a detailed budget outlining estimated project costs to support the sponsored project, fixed asset costs, and university's expenses that cannot be specifically identified with a particular project or activity. In this presentation, we will focus on the operating budget. Here are the budget terminology under the operating budget. The first is existing programs. Existing programs are all programs or activities carried out in the previous year except one of. Second is new programs. New programs are programs or activities to be carried out such as additional, extension, or expansion of the existing. And the last one is one-off. One-off is the unavoidable and non-annual expenses such as purchase of asset and non-repeating program or activity. Example, office renovation, moving to new office, general election, purchase of asset, and painting of building. Distribution of approved budget to KCDIO. Every year, the university will distribute allocations to all KCDIO to be used for operating expenses. However, there are 6 items will be centralized at the relevant divisions. There are IT-related equipment at the Information Technology Division, renovation at the Development Division, utilities, special programs, and part-time lecturer and administrative budget will be centralized at the central, and the staff scholarship budget will be centralized at Management Services Division. The operating budget are distributed based on the KCDIO budget plan. However, if there is a situation of insufficient budget due to unexpected event, the allocated budget may be rearranged through a virement process. Virement means transfer of budget allocation from other account code to another account code with different headings. Example, B27,000 to B28,000. To process the variament, KCDIO is required to fill in a variament form. The approval authority for the variament process is the head of respective KCDIO. For your information, at KCDIO, the variament is allowed for non-personnel items only. Another facilities provided in managing the operating budget is budget supplementary. Budget supplementary is only allowed for any extraordinary requirement which is not budgeted for in the yearly budget allocation. But in most of the requests, KCDIO is required to adjust within the budget allocation given, which can be done through a variament process. For monitoring the budget performance, all officers in charge of budget at KCDIO is given access to the Iium Financial Online Services specifically designed for monitoring process. After logging into the system, select the KCDIO reporting, then select budget performance, choose the fiscal year, select the branch of your cost center, then select your own cost center from the list of values, and click View Report. Here we want to share the operating budget issues based on the audit observations. Number 1, purchases made without securing budget first. Number 2, expenses incurred exceeding approved budget. And number 3, no monitoring budget by officer in charge at KCDIO. It is compulsory to ensure that the budget of the respective board to be used is available and sufficient to avoid any problems in issuing the purchase order or payment. After this, I will share with you the overview of purchasing process in Iium. This is a list of approval authority for procurement activities. For procurement value below RM20,000 or direct purchase, the approval authority is the head of KCDIO. For procurement through quotation process with value between RM20,000 to RM200,000, the approval authority are Director and Executive Director Finance Division. However, for value between RM200,000 to RM500,000, the approval authority is Iium Quotation Committee. For procurement through tender process, with value between RM500,000 to RM100 million, the approval authority is the Tender Committee. However, for the value above RM100 million, the approval authority is the Ministry of Finance. Now, I will share with you the requirement for procurement through quotation. This procurement process for purchasing for items value RM20,001 until RM500,000 that should invite at least 5 quotations. The supplier should be selected from supplier registered with Iium. There should be a quotation opening committee for opening of quotation and technical evaluation committee to evaluate and recommend the supplier for the purchase. For purchase of IT or IT-related equipment should be recommended by the Director of Information Technology Division, and if it involves renovation works, should be recommended by the Director Development Division. This is the process of invitation for quotation. Request for quotation is used when the university requires that all bidders submit prices based on the fully defined criteria, so that price competition will be the deciding factor for selection. The process begins with identify the supplier. The supplier must be registered with the Iium vendor portal and also must be registered with the Ministry of Finance. For procurement related to works, The supplier must be registered with CIDB. Next, the user need to prepare a quotation requirement which is consists of items specification, total quantity, and other requirements such as contract period, delivery requirement, and etc. Then, the user need to prepare the request for quotation to be sent to the vendor or suppliers. The RFQ must be made by inviting at least 5 registered suppliers, and it can be sent via mail, email, or facsimile. The RFQ to include the quotation requirement that have been prepared earlier. The minimum period given to the supplier to submit the quotation is 7 days. Quotations must be submitted in sealed envelopes before the specified deadline. The quotations received must be opened by the quotation opening committee after the closing date. The process then followed by the evaluation of the quotations by the quotation evaluation committee. The evaluation is made based on the technical specification and financial implication. The committee shall recommend the supplier who complied with the quotation requirement and offered the lowest price. Then, the user can proceed with obtaining approval from the university authorities. This is a complete process flow for quotation exercise for procurement value between Rm20,000 to Rm500,000. The process flow shows the preparation process before procurement until receipt of invoice from the supplier for payment process. All KCDIO can view the list of active registered supplier in the Iium Financial Online Services. Here we want to highlight the policy number 6 of the Iium Purchasing Policies and Procedures. It is stated in this policy that any individual or authorized university representative with procurement responsibility who finds himself in a conflict or a potential conflict of interest situation shall report such a situation as soon as possible to his supervisor and the Executive Director of Finance Division. Thus, the staff who has conflict of interest should not perform the following activities. Number 1, development of specifications. Number 2, being a member of evaluation committee. Number 3, discussion and negotiation with bidders. And number 4, selection of successful bidder. Below are the criteria for conflict of interest. The person is directly or indirectly holds financial interest in bidder's company, or he or she has been employee of bidders within past 3 years, or he or she is a relative of supplier. Another purchasing policies and procedures that we want to highlight is the policy number 28, which is about procurement standards of conduct. It is the policy of the university to hold in confidence all dealings with bidders and potential vendors in recognition of the competitive environment among suppliers. No employee of the university shall furnish information about any vendor or potential vendor to another. Violation of this policy may result in disciplinary action being taken against the employee. Next is the implementation of the Guidelines for Integrity Pact. The Guidelines for Integrity Pact were introduced by the Ministry of Finance as one of the initiatives under the National Key Result Area, i.e. corruption, to assist governments, business institutions, and public to curb corruption in government procurement. All staff members who are involved with the procurement activities at all KCDIO are required to sign the Integrity Pact annually, prior to, and upon completion of each project or quotation or tender, depending on their level of involvement in the procurement activities. The list of Integrity Pact are as listed in the table.